Hi, we're Option Conservation, and this is the Shoot Room Sessions. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, Rich.
Welcome back to the Shoot Room. You're joining the esteemed list of people who have made a return visit. For our listeners and watchers out there, I think it's important to share, you are essentially the architect and builder of literally the Shoot Room and the Shoot Room Session podcast. So the first ever guest. How does it feel to come back?
Good. Excited.
Nice. So we're going to dive into, as we move into 2024, and this will be appearing early 24, we're going to start a campaign for the recruitment of our next amazing group of estate managers, which is why I've asked you to come back and talk through today, because, put simply, you've set the bar for us on what estate management looks like, and the impact of that is felt so broadly across the estate. Before we started recording, I was describing how when we come here, I genuinely feel like we're your guest, and it's an absolute pleasure to come and see the estate and see what it's doing environmentally and ecologically, and how you create that sense of experience and arrival. So there's some of the things we're going to dive into today. So how would you describe the role of an estate manager in the natural capital economy, your new world over the last however many months?
Okay, so a lot of the aspects align with what we've done in the past. But I think, in essence, my role is to look after everything that happens on the estate, which is, at the moment, we've got a beef enterprise, albeit small.
Perfectly formed.
Perfectly formed. Yeah. The ecotourism side of things. So that's a big part that's becoming more important as we go forward. But then the main part is I am sort of the link to implement those landscape changes on the landscape that we decide to do through VNG or whatever we decide to do.
And what does that look like on a day-to-day basis, Charles? So what time did you arrive this morning?
7.
Nice. Is that normal?
Normally 7:30.
Okay.
But yeah, so not one day is the same, and that's what's great about the role. So
you literally started smiling. As soon as you said that, you were like, big smile.
Yeah. So that I get bored very quickly, and I think this role, you will never get bored in it because every day is different. I mean, yesterday I had 23 diary entries, and there was 23 different subjects. Well, some of them were aligned, but mainly 23 different subjects.
And it's ferocious when you're here. So you are in a room for half an hour and 3 people will come in and say, have you got a minute, Charles, can you have this? And it's just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. So that's the fun part, is you've got such a varied list of roles you do, and then, as you just mentioned, you get 10, 20 other things chucked at you during the day, and it's just like, I'm doing this, yep, and then back onto that. So it's really exciting. You're always on your toes, you're always moving, if you have to be full of energy, and that just, I love it.
Amazing. So we've done some work to define the sort of core responsibilities and activities that flow to every role within the company, but especially the estate manager one. And what I'd like to do is pick out a few of those 7 core responsibilities and get you to describe what that looks like and means to you. Mm-hmm. So the first one is under the sort of bracket of general estate management with a particular focus on health and safety. So what sort of things fall into that bracket?
Okay, so I think that's one of the largest brackets that I do, because it covers so many little things. For example, we've got a team of staff here that help support what we're doing. So it's the day-to-day management of them, the management of their areas as well, but the day-to-day management of them, the health and safety and well-being of them, the health and safety and well-being of anybody that comes to site, whether that's visitors, team members like yourself, and everything that involves, the risk assessments.
Yeah, PPE, making sure they're trained and competent and all those things.
Yeah. So,
which I think some people underestimate how significant a role that is, especially when you're running a team in an operational environment, because it's not just a pair of boots and a hard hat on a building site. There's specialist equipment and PPE and training that they all need.
100%. Especially, there's 2 big areas there. One is the farm, which is an incredibly dangerous place to work. And so that is a massive sort of area of health and safety and wellbeing that needs to be concentrated on there. The other is, this is a rural estate, and people are coming from places that are probably much, much safer than we are here. And so making sure that they can come and experience this, the landscape and the offerings that we have here, and be safe, is really important. And there are, every time I walk around, you're looking, thinking, what if, or what happens if somebody does this, and you slowly, you just got this sort of eye that notices everything then, because you've got to pick up on things, because otherwise something will happen.
I remember, so yesterday we were sat talking, and your eye out of the window in the shoot room caught a contractor working on a telegraph post or something. You're like, must go speak to that person. And that was mid-conversation. In fact, Josh had one yesterday. No, sorry, Elle shared the story yesterday. You were on a Teams call with Fee, our Director of Planning and Property. Mid-sentence, you paused, answered a question and corrected a direction that was being asked in the room without breaking the conversation, which is so impressive, the ability to multitask.
Yeah. So that's also part of the role, isn't it? Multitasking. I think also general estate management is reporting back to central teams and making sure we're doing everything in line with our sort of plans with the company. Reporting back, record keeping, and all that jazz. I mean, it's an endless box of worms, but quite exciting worms. So.
So the backdrop to that, people are laughing. So we have sweet jars in the corner. So if you're lucky enough to get invited on the shoot room, you may be offered either the equivalent of vegan Percy pigs or fizzy and non-fizzy worms, the spirit animal of the shoot room.
Fizzy ones are good.
Nice. So let's go on to the thing that I think, in my experience of visiting estates, the thing you do better than anyone I've ever met, the welcoming guests and hosting at the estate. Unpick that for us. How are you so good at that, and why is it important?
Okay, so I think people might find this hard, in this room might find this hard to believe, but I'm quite a reserved, shy person, or I was. But 15 years of running events, shoot days, has sort of thrust me into the forefront and make me welcome people onto the estate and help them enjoy it. So I worked out the other day, I've hosted over 500 shoot days and organised them. So that's people from all walks of life coming to visit the estate, and detail then was incredibly important, as is now. So I think that experience has made me comfortable with welcoming people here, and I positively love it because everybody's exciting and interesting to talk to. And I hate people finding something. I want them to come here, feel like they are a guest, not a paying guest. So come here, enjoy the space, have no problems, have every detail that they've that we'd ever dream of sort of taking care of, and then when they return, I try and make a big point of making sure if they did point something out or notice something when they're picking a tea bag that there wasn't a certain brand of mint tea or whatever it might be, make sure that's there the next time, but also try and remember things about them. So when they come and I ask them, well, how's your daughter getting on at university, or whatever it might be, and it just makes that friendship bond.
Do you list and log those, or is that just brain power, you're remembering them?
What I try and do is remember them, but if it's somebody I'm not going to see for a long time, I will list them, yeah. And it sort of stacks up, so then it's a bit of a sort of a false thing, but it engages people because it stacks up over time, and so by the sort of third or fourth visit, we're friends.
I think I don't think it's fault. I think it's prepared, and what I love is you're going to that extra effort of trying to create an experience that the person's going to love and enjoy, and there's a kindness to all your interactions that I just adore. Like we've got an event here this evening, and already the table's set downstairs, and it will be beautiful and wonderful.
I think one of the things is when people come to estate, the most important thing is the initial contact they get with whoever that might be when they drive through the gate. So that needs to be clean, tidy. When they come down the main drive, everything needs to look right. And the first thing they see when they walk in the shoot room is going to be the laid table. So if they walk in and the table isn't laid, everyone's a bit messy, that immediately sets the bar. Yeah. If they walk in and go, wow, the table's laid, that must be for this evening. Cool, look at that. This is amazing.
Builds.
You're just going up and up and up. And then if you greet them with an excited sort of, how are you, sort of bouncy persona, then it's just doing this, just stacking up. And I think another part of the role is being enthusiastic, but also knowing when to shut up. You know, you don't want to be holding court all the time, but sometimes you need to. So sitting there in a group of people and there's a quiet moment to then start realising the conversation, get things going again, and get people excited about something is a skill that's really important, I think. But also, if they're talking about amongst themselves about something else, just let them get on with it, you know. And it's a really difficult juggling act, but I think it makes people's experience that much better.
And you do it so well. I think some of the things I've learned from working with you and Katie and Ashley have been about, to be really effective in a service context, you need to care and have that warmth that you want to share with people and celebrate, and for them to have a great experience. You need to be humble and understated, so it isn't about you. You are a catalyst in helping people enjoy the estate. I also will see you working around a room and you find it so difficult to sit still and your eyes never stop. You're always looking for the empty glass, a piece of cutlery that's out of line. Does somebody need something? And all three of you, you're scanning the room constantly. And I think when I'm looking for people in sort of roles that are going to be very much facing visitors and guests, it is those busy eyes that constantly looking for that thing to improve upon, because if you don't have the right mindset, you just wouldn't see the detail. No. I think it's so important to estates that are going to welcome a lot of people. And I think increasingly we're finding in one way, shape or form, all of our estates will welcome people, even those like Leon that are incredibly sensitive, have wonderful tenants there. And we've done events, and you and Katie put on the most amazing sort of lakeside picnic there last year, which was really special. So it is a key part of what we do. I think next year is really exciting because we're hopefully going to start bringing in corporate guests. So the estate next year will be able to sleep in the 30s, right? 35, okay. With amazing event space, the shoot room being available and things like that. Are you excited about that different type of guest?
Yeah. I think welcoming people to the estate and enable them to enjoy that is incredibly exciting. But then the new sort of guests that we'll have coming, and that area for me to learn and grow in, is also incredibly exciting, because I've done the shooting world for 15 years and I absolutely loved it. Yep. But I'm excited for something else.
Just on that shooting world, we spoke about it a little bit before, and actually prior to us starting the podcast, you were thinking about whether we needed to rechristen or rebrand the shoot room, because the current objectives that are conservation focused aren't necessarily aligned with the shooting past. But I think it's a useful moment to just reflect. I am nothing but proud of that past, because if it wasn't for Andrew and Dawn's work and yours and the shoot that essentially built Mornacott as it is today, we wouldn't be here. And I think we have to be really careful about when we're doing land use change. They might not be our objectives, and I don't want to stop pheasants or turkeys or grouse or anything to shoot. But I'm not embarrassed about the fact it was. It was a chapter of what the estate did, and you have to be respectful of that and embrace it. And so I kind of love that we still call it the shoot room, and I love that we've given that a new lease of life rather than try and like mask the past. I think when people are forgetting the things that have gone before, you're missing opportunities to learn.
I agree, and I think the shoot made such an amazing canvas here that we can now start painting.
Yeah, that's lovely. Elle's literally grasping her heart about how lovely that. Do you consider career in marketing, Charles?
Got any jobs going on?
Yeah. Right, let's go next.
I've got plenty of time, so.
Your ecological background is so important as well. Where on earth does that come from, your love of and understanding of nature?
I think ultimately growing up, I was very fortunate to grow up in the countryside in Hampshire, and my love for the world and the countryside probably came from a sporting background. So ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, the family has shot, and my father always was very, very careful to instill a passion for wildlife. If you're going to shoot anything, there needs to be a reason why you're going to shoot it. You need to eat it. And if you're not going to eat it, you're not going to shoot it. And I think that was drilled into me from an early age. And it was never taken lightly, shooting things. And so my father sort of drilled into me from day one, and made me passionate about everything that was involved in shooting. And what are the songbirds that are outside on the bird table? When you go for a walk, what's that bird? What's that plant? What's this? And it was just a natural.
And he had the answers, so when you asked him, he...
And if he didn't, we looked them up and we got him. And so I growing up and still now, every wildlife program that's on TV, I'll watch it. And I'm just passionate about it. If there's something that I don't know, I'll look it up. Because I've got one of those acquiring minds that I need to know. I need that information.
Remember when we first met, you were like, I can't be bored, don't let me get bored.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't worry about that.
Yeah. So, but that is a deep-rooted passion that my father had, or has, and I have. My sister has, and I think I'm 90% sure it's just our upbringing.
It's really interesting. I think the lessons, if you can align the lessons you're learning in your early years, no one ever on a CV, no one looks to childhood, but you might have had, so you effectively had X years of experience being an estate manager when you were a child, because understanding the environment, spending time with nature, understanding the etiquette, the logistics, how a shoot runs, you'd got an amazing apprenticeship before you started running an estate. And we're not yet at that point where we're on the CV, and I'm talking myself into a line of questioning I'm going to get Andrew to put into our recruitment campaign. You know, where did your connection with nature first begin? Because if we're bringing in someone early in their career who hasn't got a background in nature, they've missed a huge chapter of where they could be learning. I suppose it's no different from, you know, you hear about the sporting prodigies who started playing sport when they were 3, 4, 5. Well, by the time they're 50, they've been doing it 10 years. If you pick up golf at 30, you're not going to be as good as someone that started when they were 3 or 4 if you
100%.
just the amount of time and opportunity available to improve.
But I think finding people that have had that upbringing starts them on the journey earlier. But it also, having that knowledge and that grounding means I am absolutely passionate about the landscape already.
Yeah.
And then any changes that we're going to make to it, I know if they're going to, well, I have a good idea if they're going to work on that landscape.
Yeah.
Because every fibre of my being has lived that landscape and knows everything about it. When I don't know about it, I want to know about it. And so all those changes we're going to make, I look at them from a coalface based view where I've got a great insight whether they're going to work. Also, I think it's really interesting talking to people about estate management and also people that are in the shooting world and things. Not many of them are that interested in wildlife and things, which is really worrying because
The narrative that's painted, certainly in Scotland, is that they very much are.
right.
But I've observed what you described.
Some are,
Yeah.
and some are absolutely incredible. But
I think it's 80-20 though. I think
Yeah.
the 20% are passionate about wildlife in a broader sense.
Yeah.
The 80 are passionate about shooting and sporting endeavours for that outcome,
100%.
not the...
But if you, I mean, I do a lot of deer management, and even a lot of people that manage deer will walk around stalking, and I'll stop and go, "What was that?" And he's like, "What do you want about?" And I'm like, "Oh, there it goes again. Oh, I haven't had one of those here for years." And he's like, "What are you on about?" And I was like, "Oh, it's green woodpecker." Really? What's a green woodpecker? And you think, hang on a minute, you know, we are enjoying the countryside whilst doing a job. And surely all these little things that help you enjoy that experience more, you should be picking up on.
I think it's the difference between looking at a poster of something and an oil painting. You can choose to see the texture, the brushstroke, the detail, or you can choose to be willfully blind to it. If you do stop and look and listen and appreciate what's there, you get a better experience, you get more texture. There's layers to everything if you bother to invest the time and effort in looking.
Yeah, 100%.
That is a perfect point for us to take a pause and come back for part 2. Welcome back, Charles, part 2. So, curveball question to start. How have you got better over the last 15 years? So you've been here 15 years, know this landscape inside and out. If I was sat with the Charles that arrived at the start of his career versus now, where have you improved the most?
You probably would employ me, if I'm honest.
When we're doing the intern recruitment last week, so 455 applicants to take 4 people, Andrew and I looked at it and went, we wouldn't have got an interview here, which is amazing and how it should be. So tell me why.
I think, to start with, I had bags of energy and enthusiasm, and I probably had, well, I would have had most of the knowledge of the landscape and a passion for nature, but no experience, absolutely zero experience. And I was incredibly fortunate that Andrew and the previous owners of Mornacott gave me that opportunity. I think he could see the enthusiasm and the experience and the knowledge of that area that I was looking after, and basically took a punt and said, run with it. And I said originally I'd give Andrew 2 years. So I did 2 years, and the shoot was doing pretty well. And
at any point in those first 2 years, did you regret it and think, I want to go home, this isn't for me?
Probably. So what I tend to do is throw myself into everything, and I just do whatever needs to be done. And that is sort of at the detriment to everything else that's going on in my life at the time. And so the first 2 years, it was, I don't think I had much holiday for 10 years, and it was just get it done and get it where it needs to be. I've changed that now because it wasn't healthy, and I've learned from it, but
it was necessary.
It was necessary then, yeah. And probably about 3 months in, I had a bit of a clash with another member of staff that was sorted very quickly, and that was probably the only wiggle or wobble, shall I say. But once that was sorted, yeah, I was away and I was excited, and yeah, it was a whole new world that had the opportunity to come into. And then from there, I did 2 years, and Andrew said, oh, well, would you like to take on the farm? Yes, yeah, I'll do that. And then it just sort of stacked from there. And so he was very, very good at giving me the opportunities when he thought I was ready and letting me take advantage of them. And so I've learnt by mastering the area getting fairly good at the area I was doing, and then adding something to it, and then adding something else to it, and just keep adding and keep adding. And then so whenever I had capacity, that capacity was filled until I managed to sort of grip that, and then more capacity was filled.
So it's worth a shout out to say hi to Andrew if he's listening, and thank you for hiring Charles and helping develop the Charles we have today, because we adore him. So your role expanding next year to take on the Leon estate as well as Mornacott, and exactly as you described there, of Andrew offering the next sort of chapter, the next challenging when you were ready for it. You and I sat down a little while ago and you were like, this is great here, but at some point soon I'm going to want more. And I was just waiting for you to ask, or to be ready for it to say, fantastic, let's pick up Leon as well, because very different style of estate, hasn't got the ecotourism enterprise, but a more sensitive set of habitat at the moment with a temperate rainforest there. And we start beginning that chapter of planning what an ecotourism offering would look like there, which is just the perfect time for you to put your arm around it and start loving that place as much as you love here.
Yeah, and I'm incredibly excited about it because I think the time is right, but also it's a beautiful estate and it complements this one so well. It's very different habitat, very different community, and it's only an hour and 10 minutes down the road.
And visually, it never will look or feel the same as Mornacott, because Mornacott is a much sharper, elegant estate, whereas Leon and Dartmoor is more rugged and intentionally wilder. And that, do you think you'll be able to love the sense of arrival? We need to do some work on the sense of arrival, but it'll be different, right? It won't be pristine hedges, it will be wilderness and wild. Do you think you'll be able to love both senses of arrival?
100%. I think I'm noticing, I was down at Leon a couple of weeks ago and we had the cold snap. We had some snow, amazingly, the only cold snap we've had this winter. But
it'll come in like March or something, I'm sure. Yeah.
And driving down the drive, I just stopped the car and got out, and it was absolutely magical because the trees were hanging with frost and everything was white and covered in a tiny powdering cover of snow.
Is it the most photogenic site?
Leon?
Yeah.
No.
Where is? Invergelde. Shout out to Invergelde.
Excuse me.
Monaco.
Leon is very...
No, it's beautiful. I think the detail at Leon is breathtaking. I think the landscape at Invergelde, although I haven't been, is, the scale is impressive. But
the topography does it at Invergelde, because you're in a bowl, it hugs you, it's around you. Yeah. Whereas at Blackburn and Hartscar, because the land falls away from you, you can see more, and it's bigger. But it doesn't hold you in the same way. It just feels different at Invergelde.
But at Leon, I was texting Josh some pictures the other day of lichen growing on trees and water droplets hanging off it. And it's just, when you sort of get down into the bones of Leon, it is breathtaking.
It really is. So I'd like to go from sort of general estate stuff to the natural capital side of things, the things that's fueling our ability to acquire and develop on estates. So we're going to bring together a really unique BNG offering here, so biodiversity net gain, to allow development that's necessary in Devon. What will that look like here? What will change on the landscape as a result of that?
Okay, so we're still in the planning stages.
And you've been involved in that?
Heavily involved, yeah, which is that's incredibly exciting as well. To have the opportunity to put or to be involved and put your stamp on a plan that's going to be on the landscape for hundreds of years is incredible, because you are designing these the different habitats on the landscape and where it's going to be and how it best sits that site or suits that site. So incredibly exciting. So slowly we will be doing, probably in stages to start with, letting the land revert back to what it wants to be, rather than fighting it to be something it doesn't want to be.
And has there been parts of Mornacott where, to make it more productive agriculturally, it has been a challenge and a fight?
100%. 100%, yeah. So I think there's certain areas, we are sort of marginal farmland here. We've got some great fields that are dry, south-facing, but we've also got some really quite wet, boggy fields that are rushy, and we've fought those fields for 15 years to drain them and try and revert them, or to make them into good agricultural land when they want to revert back to their natural state, which is a boggy, marshy sort of moorland area. So giving the land the opportunity to do that, I think, is very exciting. So in essence, we will probably be letting areas scrub up and do quite a lot of woodland pasture.
That's really exciting. And lots of people are talking about B&G at the minute. Why will ours be different and, dare I say, better than other options?
So I'm genuinely excited about one big aspect of what we offer from a B&G perspective, which is allowing investors to come and see what they're investing in and see those landscape changes as they change. That side of it, I think, is incredibly interesting, because it's engaging people with the good they're doing by investing in it.
And so important from an authenticity, an auditability, a credibility. You know, natural capital products are intangible. You know, they're things that it's difficult for people a long way away to touch, see and feel. With the offering we're able to make to corporate clients moving forward, they literally can come and touch and see and interact with the environment that they're supporting to create. And
come on that journey with us and see the changes. But also, I think the really exciting thing about B&G, I'm going slightly off piece here, is
no, do.
We have the landscape here at Mornacott, and we have certain species that live in this landscape. Some of those species we like to see, and we sort of know them as keystone species, and we shout about them. They may not be right for this landscape, and as that landscape slowly sort of changes, other species will come and will inhabit that landscape, and some of the ones we have now will probably go. And
that'll be exacerbated by a progressing climate as a result of climate change. So we're going to see a whole range of different species.
100%. But that's not necessarily wrong, because we've made an artificial environment that's supporting some species. So those species are going to be absolutely fine, because on the neighbouring estates, they've still got that landscape. So they'll move on to there. But it will create a habitat that other species that aren't in this area and aren't in this landscape can thrive in. So I think that's really exciting to watch that change and record it and say, this is a sort of baseline survey, this is where we are now, and this is the species we have on the site. And from the changes that we've made, what are we going to have in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 20 years' time?
When you were exploring different aspects of the agricultural enterprise here previously, was there a mind given to the longevity of what we're doing? So was it, we'll explore cattle for, and that's likely to be X, Y or Z period, or a crop for a certain period? Did you think about that sort of generational plan like we are doing with B&G, or was it much shorter time frame?
No, in essence, no.
The reason I ask is because when I haven't seen that in other estates, so often farmers are in a really difficult spot of trying to balance the books at the moment, and it was, okay, what can we try now that will help for a year, 2 years, 3 years? I think it's rare, my understanding is it's rare for someone to be able to look at a landscape and think, okay, how can we help this over 100 years?
Yeah, I think with farming, you had rotations of grass lays and things, but that's all very short term, 5 years max, I'd say. So
yeah, which is a blink of an eye for the environment.
100%.
The other thing I think is important about what we're trying to do from a natural capital perspective, we have not bought a single site with the expressed intention of developing natural capital. It has always been, what can we do for the environment to help it from a conservation perspective? And the natural capital credits and products and services that come from that are a byproduct of the intervention. I think that's different as well. So I can feel proud of that because we know we are looking for something that will deliver environmental and social impact first, and the products come off the back of it. I think you'd end up with a very different environment if we tried to optimize it for carbon or optimize it for BNG, and you'd end up it'd be like an industrial process in a rural setting and in an environmental context.
I think one of the other factors that sets us apart is most BNG, or a lot of BNG at the moment, is being done in small pockets all over the country, areas of farms that aren't necessarily productive anymore. But we are looking at doing big landscape changes and offering that in different locations across the country is very rare. It's a sort of an exciting thing for an investor. And then cut there a minute. Scale is the point. Oh, that's it. Okay, back on.
Please don't take that out. It's lovely.
And then having a brand and offering people everything that's involved in that, so they can have trust in us and what we're doing. They can come and see it, and is at scale. So we're ticking lots of boxes, I think, which is really important.
I hadn't realised, and it's nice that Elle's in the room for this. In the last 2 or 3 podcasts we've filmed, everyone's gone, "You've built the most amazing brand," and I don't think we set out to build an amazing brand. We just set out to be proud of what we had as a company and celebrate the awesome people we have. And again, it's kind of just trying to authentically do something we can be proud of. And we did try and make the environment sector more aspirational. So I suppose it was mindful in that way, like a more pared back approach, a more elegant approach. Sorry, Lara, my enjoyment of black and white. And just trying to make it elegant and aspirational in that way. But it's really cool that people have started picking up the brand also. So I asked some of the interns last week, who were the other cool companies doing stuff in the environmental space? And all you got was the, wrong phrase, who you got were the Patagonia and Finistairs and things like that, but no one delivering conservation-based outcomes. So I was kind of proud about that. That brought a little smile, I think.
I think we've seen in the past that brand is a huge thing. When people used to come shooting here on the estate, there we go, Mornacott, they knew that they would have a great experience.
Yeah.
And that was our brand. Our brand was to look after people, to give them an amazing experience in the landscape and great hospitality and all that entails. OC's the same. It stands for slightly different things.
Yeah.
But people hopefully will know that if they invest with us, or if they come and stay with us in one of our ecotourism offerings, that the brand stands for the same thing, excellence, and that they're going to be looked after. And it's, and being part of that, I think, is very exciting.
Awesome. So I'm going to put you in recruitment mode right now.
Okay.
So you're going to play a key role in the recruitment of future estate managers, and we're going to be going out for a campaign early in 2024 to find the next group of those. So we've got gaps and opportunities in the southwest and all over Scotland. So in the next year, we're going to acquire a large additional area of land in Scotland across a number of estates. So one of those in the northeast sort of Sutherland area looks very promising at the moment. What are we looking for in the next group of estate managers, Charles?
I think we're looking for people that are enthusiastic, full of energy, wanting that opportunity to put their stamp on something and take ownership of an estate, because we, as estate managers, have to own the estate and run it as our own. And I think once you start to do that, everything starts to sort of line up and everything starts to work, and it's just easier as well, because the buck stops with somebody, and ultimately the buck stops with the estate manager. So we are responsible for everything that's entailed. So somebody that's willing and excited to take that opportunity on, somebody that is passionate about the landscape, passionate about welcoming people to the landscape, passionate about doing everything as good as they possibly can and constantly improving it.
How you do anything, you say you do everything. The team delightfully play bingo with Richisms, and that's one of the key ones. Yeah.
And constantly improving it and pushing forward, being able to juggle lots of things going on at once. I think it's the dream role. it's my. Lots of people have asked me this question, and I look at all the jobs in OC, and I think it is a really attractive role to do because you've got ownership of something that you can put your stamp on, you can make it your own, and you can make immediate changes. So if you're doing your job well, it's very obvious very quickly. If you're doing your job badly, it's also very obvious very quickly. So welcoming people to the estate and people going, wow, that's where I get my buzz. And so it's finding people and giving them that opportunity so they can get that buzz.
That ownership, it's not just an invitation, it's a requirement. Yeah. So I love coming here, but I genuinely feel like your guest when I come here. And if someone's thinking about this role, you can't dip a toe in. You've got to dive into it and literally own it and live it. And so if people want a 9-to-5 job, Charles, is this for them?
Absolutely not. No, this is a lifestyle, and I think we've been doing some looking at our workflow and sort of analysing the time in jobs
because we're data geeks.
Yeah,
the core team.
And I find that a really difficult thing to do because I've never thought about hours that I work. Yeah. It's just I get everything done that needs to be done, and in this role, if I want to go and have a cup of coffee with a friend on a Tuesday, as long as everything's done under control, I'll go and do it.
And that's a really good point. So we talked before we started recording about you have abject freedom and autonomy.
Yeah.
Like no one is. Yes, we are time recording because as we aspire to be the world's biggest natural capital asset manager, us being more efficient about that is a really important drive. Not that I'm going to be willing for us to lose the culture of playfulness and creativity to achieve that, but what gets measured gets managed and monitored and things like that. But no one's looking at how you're spending your time. No. If the outcome in the estate's great and you're happy and the team are healthy and safe. So yeah, if you want to go stalking when the weather's right, if you want to go out fishing when the weather's right, have a great time. You know, we literally have footage of Elle responding to social media stuff on a paddleboard in the middle of Invergeldy. Yeah. Like we haven't got Lara, she's got quite a large PC for the data processing stuff, but she is, however, traveling internationally and going to work from a different time zone for 3 months next year. So, yeah, have that adventure. And if you don't want it, some people don't want that level of autonomy. They want a really time-bound job. You've got to be prepared to be independent, right, in this role?
100%. But I think because it is an all-encompassing role and not 9 till 5, you need to be able to do that. Because if the phone rings at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, I don't think, oh, it's Sunday. You just sort the problem, and that's a mindset. It's genuinely not a problem. But likewise, as you said, if it's the Mayfly hatch down on the river and Dan happens to be passing and we pop down for a cast a fly for a couple of hours, that's not a problem.
Not at all.
And it never.
More than not a problem. You need to do it because so many businesses look for ways of connecting the team with what they do and the outcome. God, if we can't do that, who can? You know, we have the most incredible playground of amazing landscapes. If we're not out enjoying them, like my diary next year is pretty much booked up for the entire year, but in there are set days when I'm going to visit our estates and interact with them because that's where I get my energy and love for what we do from. And if I end up stuck in a conference room all year in London, I won't want to do it anymore.
No. But I think...
is that me?
Oh, sorry.
So I love this. We're going to pause for a second for Charles to take a call, which is I hoped would happen because that's the job of an estate manager. When something happens, you answer the phone. I love that. I love that.
Probably had 3. So.
Yeah, it's fine. Sorry about that.
And we need to keep that in because there was such a theatrical return back to shot from Charles there.
So, sorry, just to finish up on that one. I think another thing that when we're looking for new estate managers that people need to bear in mind and not be daunted by is it's okay for them to be on the start of that journey. And I'm very fortunate. I've had 15 years of experience doing it, but it's fine if they're passionate and they're keen and they're hungry and they want to make a difference if they haven't had that experience. Because if they've got that seed and they're the right person, amazing. And actually being able to bring somebody in and mould them to exactly what we're looking for from an estate manager.
The only wrinkle to that I would say is I want them to help us change what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So we only add people into the team that are better than us in a meaningful way So yes, we want them to have the sort of right values, and we want it to be about the environment, about impact and adventure for them. But also, how can they help us reshape what that looks like? And we're fortunate, we're a small team of around 20, but we're now perfectly placed to help support that person's growth in a new estate manager. I mean, I've seen you teach on the hillside. There isn't, you're busy training Josh in his ecology as well. Every time we go out there, it's a new plant or animal that you're describing and talking about. But across you and Dave in a head of operations role, and I mean, heck, our head of people is one of the country's leading performance psychologists. So we've got a skill set here that, if you are willing to learn and open to it, you are going to get coached and taught and constant feedback and things. So yes, you have independence and autonomy, but the whole team's at the other end of the phone, right, including you?
Yeah, 100%.
So what advice would you give someone who's thinking about, is an estate manager the role for me, and they're listening to this?
I think the first part is understanding the role and making sure it is right for them. I think if somebody wants to be an estate manager and wants to have a 9-to-5 job, look elsewhere, because it's not going to work. If somebody is excited to have an opportunity to, as I said earlier, to take ownership of somewhere and put or help to put their stamp on a landscape and carry it through until it's implemented, this is an amazing opportunity for them. I think this is a new area, a new and exciting area. Estate management in the past has been quite samey, and it's been angled towards sporty estates, which has worked for a very long time. The future is looking slightly rocky. This is an amazing opportunity, and the future is amazing, and there's so much scope and progression there for people that I genuinely think it's a very, very exciting opportunity for people.
Awesome. Charles, thank you very much for returning to your shoot room for the next episode of the podcast. Absolute pleasure. We'll be going out for our estate manager recruitment campaign in early 2024, and the lucky few that get shortlisted will have an opportunity to have a conversation with you. So thank you for setting the bar.
No problem. Look forward to it.
Have a great day, guys. Bye.